So with the nicotine cravings I've had the past couple of days, two things in particular have really helped me. The first one is asking myself, what would the best version of myself do? And reminding myself of my goals, my goal to be the best I can, and also to document that and share it with others to help them along the journey as well. And reminding myself that if I did buy a vape, that would be extremely hypocritical of me, because the message I choose to spread on YouTube. And that helps a lot. And then when I get the headache, well, first off, I also cut off the thought. And if you didn't watch my last video, what this basically is the physical withdrawal from nicotine, the chemical withdrawal from it is very subtle and not that difficult to overcome. The actual withdrawal is due to the brain wanting something and then not being able to get it. So it creates this sense of lack. And if you've ever seen a toddler in a grocery store or anywhere be denied something and watch them throw a temper tantrum, your brain does the same thing. Your brain will throw a temper tantrum, and it's like, I want it, but like, you can't have it. But I want it, but I don't want it. But I'm not going to do it, but I want it. And that allowing yourself to want it and then withholding it literally will give you one of the worst headaches I've ever had. It will make it does lots of physical symptoms, nasal congestion, anger, like everything that people attribute quitting nicotine to is basically that I want it, but I'm not going to let myself have it method. So if you notice, you have to pay attention to it. If you focus and you notice your thoughts, and when they say, oh, I want it, you're like, no, I'm happy to be free. You have to cut off that thought as soon as you possibly can, so that you're not entertaining it, you're not playing out scenarios in your own head of driving to the store, buying the vape, imagining using it, imagining the pleasure you'd get from using it. Because all those things, which you will subconsciously do if you don't control your own thoughts, will only make it worse and give you a worse headache. So once you start cutting it off and not allowing those thoughts to continue, but just saying, I'm happy to be free. Now, I am really happy to be free of nicotine. It sucks being addicted. It sucks telling yourself, I'm not going to use it anymore today, and then violating your own word. It really does. It sucks not being able to really be satisfied with anything you do if you don't have your vape. You might have had a great meal, but I wish I could vape after. Or you might have, it's this idea that you need this thing in order to be happy. It's really horrible, and it feels amazing to be free. The other thing is, I also remind myself that vaping is the lazy method to get dopamine. It really is. It is extremely lazy. You are wasting your health, you're destroying your willpower, all because you are too lazy to do 2 minutes of breath work. That's really what it is. You can get a way more intense high by doing breathing than you can actually get via nicotine. I've never passed out via nicotine. I've passed out via breathing, and yeah, it was way more intense. The head rush was way more intense. The dopamine was way more intense. I'm not saying it's necessarily the healthiest thing to do in the world, but what I will say is it's sure as hell a lot better than using nicotine, because I don't need anyone else. I don't need something else. I can do the breath wherever. And most of the time, you're not messing with your brain by adding in substances. You're just triggering the release of certain chemical compounds by hyperoxygenating your blood. And what this is, it's basically Wim Hof breathing, and I've made videos on the channel talking about this. There's two methods. I'm not going to fully do out either because I'm driving, and that would be very unsafe. I do not recommend doing these methods while driving, especially if you haven't done them before, because you can black out from them, and you can fall down. One of them is a lot less likely to get you to black out, and that is basically taking 30 deep breaths, which is just Wim Hof breathing. It's 30 deep breaths, and then after you take your 30th deep breath, you just hold the air in, and you can hold it for like 2 to 3 minutes, that breath, easily. So it's basically, I do a 2-stage breath, which the first one I inflate my belly, and then the second one I inflate my shoulders. So it's like a so it's bottom of the lung, top of the lung, and then you take 30 of those, and then you hold it, and it is very intense. And I found it to be the closest thing I can do to, like, I don't know, when you're just craving the head rush, it works really well. I mean, it also depends on the different reasons why you use nicotine in the first place. Mine was because I really liked that feeling of being launched through space in that you got when you did when you took a large hit, which is why I did vaping. I never really liked cigarettes too much, and for a period of time I did bong rip tobacco because it was even more intense than hitting a vape. But that feeling of like, it's kind of like the book Way of the Superior Man has a section where it talks about how the French refer to an orgasm as le petit mort, which is the little death, and it is the loss of control of the self is in itself very appealing. I'm not forgetting exactly why, but it's very appealing to people, and nicotine can come close to that feeling because, especially in the high doses that I did and the hitting of it, because it kind of just launches you and you literally lose all sense of yourself for a period. I mean, I'm having trouble describing it completely because I just haven't done it, and I haven't bong ripped tobacco in years. I'm very happy about that, but that feeling of being launched into space, which is the best way I can describe it right now, you can get that. You can get the head rush by doing the second mechanism, which is, I call it, it's not breath of fire, but it's like fire breathing. And I discovered it because I was blowing on a fire. And if you've ever been camping, you got a little flame going, you kind of go on your hands and knees, and you do a bunch of big breaths, and you're like, and you do that for about 20 to 30 breaths, and then you stand up. That's the key. Like, once you do that, hold your breath and stand up. Make sure you're surrounded by pillows, because only one time I did this and I blacked out, and I'm not sure how long I was blacked out for, but I stood up. I was doing this in my office, and I kind of like leaned down against my desk, and then I came to, I have no idea how long, and I was like sprawled out against my computer on my desk, and I'm like, holy shit, what did I take? And I'm like, I don't drink, I didn't smoke any weed, I didn't take nicotine, like, what the fuck? And then I realized like 5 minutes later, I was like, oh my god, that was from breathing. Like, you kind of forgot what happened. I don't necessarily recommend these things, but I do say in a safe environment, surrounded by pillows, they can be beneficial if that is what your brain craves. And for me personally, I find the first one, there's actually studies done, and Wim Hof talks about it a lot in his book, because it is just Wim Hof breathing, how it helps with dopamine regulation, serotonin regulation, and all these other things. The second one is more so, this will make you extremely lightheaded and give you the biggest head rush of your life. And whether or not that's good, I don't know. I found it to be, that really hit the spot though when I was having nicotine cravings, and doing that 2 to 3 times after you catch your breath in between kind of satisfied the part of my brain that was craving the nicotine. And again, this is weird ass stuff. I'm basically telling you, the second one, the first one, the Wim Hof breathing, that's great. You're going to regulate your body. You're going to create space between yourself and the craving, and it's going to give you space to view that, to make better decisions. It's really good. The second one is this will get you really close to kind of fucked up if you bong rip tobacco. That's all, basically what I can say. Is, I'm not saying you want this, I'm saying it gets you pretty close to that feeling naturally. So do what you want with that. And while I've never fallen, I have lost, I don't know, I have come to and been really confused for where I am for at least 5 minutes. Do not do this while driving. Do not do either of them while driving. That is retarded. And a realization I had to come to when I was thinking back, and I'm like I could black out from this. After I had that first blackout, which was, thank God, in my office, I wouldn't do the fire breath one in my car because you can't really kneel down, but I would do the Wim Hof breathing. I do not recommend doing that in your car. I recommend doing it seated, while seating. But the breath of fire, standing up, creates, it's what is it doing? It's, the gravity changes the way blood goes to the brain, which I think is similar to nicotine in how it acts as a vasoconstrictor or something like that. I'm not too sure about the science on that one, but it gets you close. What else? There's also box breathing, which is something you can use for impulsiveness and to create space between yourself and the craving so that you identify with it less. And this is something that my grandfather, who is a really good youth counselor and therapist, told me about when I was talking to him about why I got started with ice baths, and how a couple years ago I was at school, got kind of depressed, and I'm like, I saw this one YouTube short where this lady talked about how she used ice baths to cure her depression. I'm like, I'm not clinically depressed, but I mean, I sure as hell don't like where I'm at right now. So I started taking ice baths, and I found that making yourself sit in water, freezing your balls off, creates space between yourself and the thoughts that have been going through your head. Because a lot of the time, we get stuck in these patterns. The patterns of behavior. I mean, if you've ever gone through phases, that's a pattern of behavior. I know, having nieces, myself, I've gone through a lot of, patterns of behavior in my life. And I don't know, when I was 10, I found out what gay was. I couldn't stop making gay jokes. And while that wasn't as big of a thing as it would be today, due to how the culture shifted, it sure as hell annoyed my parents, because they're like, why is he doing this? But I just matured, and I stopped doing it, because I'm like, it's not really funny, but I don't know, when you're a kid and you discover something new, you can kind of get stuck in these things. Or have you ever had a song stuck in your head? It's like that song kind of just stays there until eventually it will leave. Taking an ice bath really helps because it shocks your system, and after about 3 minutes in the water, you have no thoughts going through your head at all. And you're just like really conscious of how you feel. Everything kind of looks brighter, colors are sharper, and it's this sense of peace and calm, because it's really difficult to have a thought going through your head when you're that cold. And then as you warm up, you notice the thoughts coming back, and you kind of lose that space you created. But through repeatedly doing this, you can look at those thoughts and judge them and ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this something I want to continue? So there's also a method called box breathing, which is not as effective as an ice bath, but it still helps. And it's basically you breathe in for 6 seconds, you hold it for 6 seconds, you breathe out for 6 seconds, and then you hold that for 6 seconds. So your breath is like in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. And each one is 6 seconds, which is why it's called box breathing. And that's just... And by doing this, you kind of, well, you don't kind of, but you place yourself more, you create space between the thoughts going through your head so that you can then better evaluate them. And it's really helpful for people that have anger issues or impulsivity to create space. And you can do that for like 5 minutes. After you do it for 5 minutes, like, you'll have a pretty good brain to try to tackle a lot of stuff. But anyways, yeah, stay tuned.